All right, so let's start with the big story that we are tracking on WION at this hour. Britain is all set to become the first country in the world to roll out the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine, and it starts the rollout program from tomorrow, where shots will be available at about 50 different hospitals for the general public. The WION's Mandy Clark has been tracking this story very closely for us and has sent us this report.
Vaccines arriving at Croydon University Hospital. It's one of the 50 hub hospitals that's rolling out Britain's biggest mass inoculation in its history. About 800,000 doses are expected to be available this week. The first doses are for the over 80-year-olds, frontline healthcare workers, and care home staff and residents.
To know that they are here and we are amongst the first in the country to actually receive the vaccine and therefore the first in the world is just amazing. I'm so proud.
Britain gave emergency use approval for the vaccine last week.
We will then be rolling it out as fast as we possibly can.
Jumping ahead of the global race to begin inoculation against coronavirus. In total, Britain has ordered 40 million doses, and each person requires 2 doses. That's enough to vaccinate 20 million people in a country of 67 million. But with high levels of vaccine skepticism worrying public health experts, newspapers are saying Queen Elizabeth, who's 94, and her husband Prince Philip, 99, would let it be known when they had received the shot. The Queen's backing for the vaccine would be a powerful message to counter anti-vaccination misinformation circulating online. Mandy Clark, World is One, WION, London.
All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of the many challenges that are still ahead as Britain begins to roll out the vaccine program from tomorrow, we are joined in by Ollie Barrett, who's joining us live from London at this point of time. Thank you very much indeed, Ollie, for joining us in this broadcast on WION. And let me begin by asking you this. Britain is going to be the first nation in the world to be rolling out the COVID-19 vaccine on a mass scale for the general public. And the vaccination drive is expected to begin from tomorrow early in the morning. Bring us up to speed with what are the latest developments that are unfolding in Britain.
Well, what is happening now is that hospitals up and down the country are getting ready to start that vaccination process from Tuesday, working out exactly how to administer the jab and store it at their local site, but also working out who is going to get it and exactly when. This is a difficult jab, a difficult vaccine to store because it needs to be kept at very low temperatures. So it is initially being rolled out to 50 hospital hub locations in England and other hospitals in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland as well. Many of those doses have started to arrive at UK hospitals. Others are still waiting for theirs to get there. And then the first patients who will be given the jab, we expect to be the elderly who are either already attending hospital for an appointment of some sort or who may be in hospital and are preparing to be discharged. And when those first doses have been administered, we also expect that some vulnerable members of the NHS, the National Health Service staff, will be administered jabs as well. So it's a case of hospitals receiving the vaccine, storing the vaccine, getting it ready to administer, and then also working out exactly which patients are going to go first.
Absolutely, indeed. Now, according to reports that have come in, it is being said that about 800,000 people could get vaccinated in the very first week of this vaccination drive that is expected to start from tomorrow. Do we at this point of time know as to what would be the cost of this vaccine? Is it going to be given free of charge for some of the people up front?
It will be given free of charge. It will be given to people on the National Health Service. There will be no cost to it. We also believe that it will not at any stage become available via private healthcare. This is something that is going to be given out on the NHS alone. In terms of the first doses, 800,000 arriving over the next couple of days and started to arrive over the previous couple of days as well. From last week, the doses started to get here. That 800,000 first batch of doses is enough to vaccinate 400,000 people. There had been some confusion about exactly how many doses the UK would receive by the end of the year. At first, the UK was saying that it expected around 10 million doses before the end of 2020. That was then rolled back a little bit, partly because of some production issues that Pfizer have been having in Belgium in terms of getting the amount of doses out of the plant, the manufacturing plant, as quickly as possible. But we are now hearing from government ministers that they do believe that there will be several million doses in the UK by the end of the year. So we're looking at something like 4 or 5 million doses. That's enough to vaccinate around 2.5 million people.
Absolutely indeed. And also there are reports that suggest that Queen Elizabeth II and also her husband Philip could be one of the first people who could be vaccinated. But it's also being said that they're not being given any kind of preferential treatment for being the royals, but rather because of their advanced age. Do we know as to when they're likely to be vaccinated?
We don't know when exactly, but you're right, they're both well into their 90s, so they certainly would be among the first in the queue to receive this vaccine. We don't know when that might happen. Buckingham Palace has been suggesting that if and when the Queen and Prince Philip do have the jab, that they will release that news to the public, part of the PR campaign to try and convince as many people in Britain as possible to take the jab and convince those people of its safety as well. Some suggestions that perhaps the Queen and Prince Philip could even be filmed being administered the vaccine. Not at all clear if that is being considered by Buckingham Palace. Some royal advisers suggested actually the Queen would probably rather take this in a private way and then tell the public afterwards that it has been given to her. But Buckingham Palace also making it very clear that there'll be no jumping of the queue by the Queen and Prince Philip. They will be given the vaccine as and when the NHS decides that their point in the queue has arrived. Absolutely indeed.
And you know, when things like this, of course, are put out into the public domain, it's also about getting the message across to people that a vaccine like this that's been approved in record time is safe. Do we, at this point of time, know anything at all about what Boris Johnson's plan is? In the United States, the former presidents like Barack Obama and George Bush have said that they are willing to actually take the vaccine on camera to send a message of confidence for the people that the vaccine is actually safe. Boris Johnson, in the early days of the pandemic, had gone around shaking hands, telling people that pretty much nothing would happen to him, but had ended up contracting the virus. At this point of time, will he be willing to take the vaccine on camera?
He's certainly willing to take the vaccine, and Downing Street has suggested he may well also be willing to have it administered to him on camera. Again, Downing Street, though, is saying with regards to Boris Johnson that he'll take it when his turn arrives. He is a man who is over 50, so he is due to be administered the vaccine in the first wave of vaccinations, but quite far down the list in terms of his age. Of course, he's not in his 80s or 90s. He is a man who has struggled at times and has admitted so with his weight, and so that does mean that he is more vulnerable to the virus than some other people who are not the same size as he is. But certainly Downing Street insisting that he will take the virus, will take the vaccine. We will, I think, see pictures of him doing so when that happens, but Downing Street stressing, as with the Queen, as with Prince Philip as well, that he's not going to jump the queue to get it early so that he can show the public that he's taking it, but certainly wants to make it very clear that he will indeed take the vaccine as and when directed by the NHS.
All right, Oli Barrett, thank you very much indeed for joining us from London and getting us all those updates then.